Well, I guess I've gone dark. Just really just browsed my Facebook feed and made a few comments, but for the most part, I have gone dark. What does that mean? Well, it means my brain shut down after going on 5 years almost of what seemed like overdrive and the things that I was thinking and the way that I was thinking and the things that I was doing. I've had in this dark moment in time probably the first real peaceful, safe, nurtured period of time that I've had in quite a while. And everybody that knows me knows that. And God bless my daughter for her wisdom and her grace and her love, because she was able to convince me that I deserved to just do nothing and rest. Let myself just rest. So that is what dark has looked like, which is a lot different than dark has looked like in the past for me. What it feels like is the world is spinning and I'm just still watching everything fly. Everything that I have tried to convey to people that I cared about for the last 3 or 4 years. 4 years, really. This is 2020, and for me, this began 4 years ago after 40 days and 40 nights fasting myself to death, and through that process realizing a lot of things that I needed to come back and take care of, that I was shown and that I was told. It makes me take a great pause, which is what this darkness of the world spinning out of control and everybody finally seeing at whatever level they're able to see what I was shown and told between 2015 and when I took this great pause and vanished basically from a world that I had lived in for 3 decades of my life in various ways of survival. It goes back much farther than the 40 days and nights that I spent in the woods preparing my body for a great fast every time I went, until the fast became my life because of the things that I discovered and was shown and told. Pretty much at this point, all of the video footage that I have so diligently collected from my life and what I was attempting to do, which was misunderstood largely by those especially close to me, and even by the greater circle of connectivity that I have in this world, which when I arrived at my great pause here in Indiana, not even accomplishing the purpose with which I came here, which was my brother, but though he called me home, there's nothing I can do for him, which is a lot of the darkness in my great pause. Because this whole journey was because of him. Because when I was shown and told so many things, and all of the video footage, anybody's welcome to go back in time if they would like to watch a real movie. It all reveals what was in my heart, which was so misunderstood and maligned and presumed about, when it was an experience of me living my life in the only way I've ever known how until right now, in this great pause, because all I can do is trust that the wisdom that possessed me when I took my Bible, and it was a possession because there was many times that I was doing things that people just totally did not understand and were so random and bizarre to the way our world was functioning that even as the actor in the movie that I have created over the last 4 or 5 years by videoing my life in the documentary way that I have, reveals so much. I mean, I sit in my great pause, I sit and review of my life. What else is there to do in a great pause, which is what everybody is in, which is why it is so hard for everybody to have this great pause, because it makes us all stop and start to think at whatever level we're able to do that based on how we've lived our lives and how we have fed our minds, which is the 666, which then creates what we do in our hand and our forehead together combined. So as we all sit in this great pause that the whole globe seems to have come into with me, and that feels very weird because it feels like that as I take a great pause, everybody has to, not just me. And that's bizarre. I've run around in a frenzy, making a movie, writing a documentary of my life because of how ironic, random, and bizarre my life parallels the globe and what transpires. And I do believe that it's not just me. This is a global thing. And if we all look closely enough at our lives in the way that I have and evaluated it up against a standard by which we all know, and it's not a word on a page, on a cover, or a million in a book. It's what we all know deep down inside that is real and true and pure and just and honest and of a good report. And when things don't align with that in your soul, then everything is disconnected. And the only way to be truly and genuinely connected is for everybody to align with that within themselves. And sadly, there's a whole lot of people that don't have a standard or a rock or a foundation. What they have is a lot of sand under them. And I was told and aligned with my soul a very long time ago what was a rock and what was sinking sand. And so my whole journey, the Called Heart's journey, which turned out to be simple, but it wasn't fucking easy, was all that first original genuine alignment that I had within my own soul and truth and reality. And that was never based on other people, largely because the people that it would have been based on when I was a young child, I was very disconnected from them and have been largely for all of my life, including my brother. And in that disconnected state of being constantly, while outside of me, there were other people that were always connected, never made sense. So I connected into, I guess, Stephen Hawking's reality that he had in his state of being in this world. And our state of being is what we are, manifested into physical atoms, but it's not who we are. It's all so very deep and so very simple, but not fucking easy. The one reality that we all talk about, being one, is the reality that is outside of all of the physical matter that is around us. And it is the deeper reality that we all know, that we all fear. He that loves his life will lose it, and that he that loses his life will save it again. So when you're not connected to the particles that make up everything in this world, then everything in this world pretty much becomes meaningless, except in the greater reality that the particles are the smaller portion of the matter. And the space is the bigger portion. So if the particles are the smaller portion and the space is what forces those particles into being, then being in the space and not being attached to anything in this world, because it is this world that is spinning around. And when you're in the space, you no longer spin. And it is very much like Star Trek. They're flying around out there in space somewhere with their little cell phones 30 years ago when I was a kid. And now that's the world that we live in. And I sit here still looking at the larger picture. Mankind has been on the path of destruction since the path of destruction was the one in which we chose to follow. It definitely is a group effort, but all of the stories that I have found my feet within. And this is what got me a bill of health from the psychiatrist just prior to the world falling apart was everybody else is going crazy and I'm living in the Bible. And, you tell me what's the better thing to do. You want me to go get a gun and shoot? You want me to rally my kids to go kill a bunch of people? What? I'd rather be Elijah or Moses or Jesus walking in the last days than anybody else right now. He couldn't argue with that, and it really is the truth. And in my great pause, I've sat here and questioned my own sanity, realizing that it really is the same way. It really is the same way, and we cannot be attached. And if we are attached, we're going to be spinning because everything is spinning out of control. It's no one man's fault, and people can point fingers all they want, but in doing so, they just choose their camp. And that's the simplicity of it. Because those that genuinely have let go at the deeper level of being, when the world collapses, like we know it's all going to, because in all reality, it did in 2008, and the market was propped up and the banks were bailed out and money was printed that there was no account for. And so the deficit grew, and we've lived in a bubble. And we pretended like everything is okay when it really isn't okay. And if we had realized it wasn't okay way back then, altering our behavior in, manageable fashion collectively could have gone a long way. But now we've skidded down to the end of the rope, and the last Trump is standing up there in office, bless his heart. He knew what his mission was, and he started building the temple. He proclaimed something by those very actions. He was saying, listen up, people. There's some prophecies that the shit is about to hit the fucking fan. And nobody knows it, and everybody's going on as if. But I tell you what, there's going to be some people that are going to wake up as soon as the temple starts getting built because they studied the prophecies. And they were waiting on this 30 years ago when they were diligently studying and feeding their brains and memorizing scripture. And they know a lot. And they stand on the rock. And they've been waiting. And you know who you are. I know who I am. When I was in the hospital speaking to the psychiatrist in the way that I was, I heard the nurses in the hall talking. Because when you sit in the woods and you do all the things that I did, it prepares you for everything. Everything. Because you can hear everything and you can see everything, and everything becomes Simple, not easy. It's not fucking easy. There isn't anybody that I've sat in the woods with or that's doing anything in the world today in a real way that'll say it's easy. Because the first thing that we have to do when doing all those things is deny ourselves a lot. It was a type of military preparation for something that most people have an intellectual assent to, but they deny the very truth of it. So I decided to come out of my darkness, though I'm sitting in partial darkness in my mom's garage holding what little tobacco I have left, because I've smoked this tobacco for a reason. They're prayers. These are prayers. Every time I try to kill this body, it's a prayer to heaven. Every time I didn't eat food when I should have, and I'm still only 9 pounds right now. Which is why my daughter told me to take a great pause and get healthy. Because though my body has been sick and I've pushed it with adrenaline for years, doing and growing in my ability to use what's motivating everything that I do, which is what my mind and heart, body and soul all unanimously are screaming within me. And I hope and pray that it's being broadcast. And I know in everything that I did, going to my family in Alabama in 2016, taking my brother around there, setting up altars and doing ceremony with tobacco and community ash, praying prayers for their souls, seeing my second cousin, who was struggling with meth addiction, be well today comparatively to what he was then. That's a blessing because he's my family, he's my blood, and that's my business in the last days. Jesus went around healing the sick in soul, and then they went on and told people and spread it to the community like this virus is spreading to the community, which I believe I had, and I was dying in the hospital in January of pneumonia, if everybody remembers. We're just now starting to test. And I think Jessica, you know who I'm talking about, her 2 daughters, I think they had it. I think my mother brought it home and I got it again since I've been here, because we ran the fever with the headache and she's got the dry, continual cough that we're ministering to. Of course, I still, I'm in God's hands. That's where I am, and that's where I have lived my whole life since I was laying under a bed at I don't know how old, 3 or 4 or 5 years old, and people were crazy then. And I found Jesus through my grandmother's few admonitions in Sunday schools and gave my heart so sincerely to him that he has led my path. And though it has been a rocky, bumpy, less than, I wouldn't say exciting, it's been very exciting, especially these last several years, as I just decided to dress up in costumes and take on the full regalia of, what the hell we're doing. The heart, sunglasses, and talisman all over my body, trying to wake people up without opening my mouth, because then when I did start opening my mouth, I was told to wear my retainer because I might get punched, because people really don't want to hear the truth, even though it resonates with their soul. Whatever they have fed in their mind that causes them to live their lives in certain ways that damage and destroy. And I was captured up into that hell for 11 years. That's what they hear and perceive, and it makes them angry. And there's a book everybody can go get if they want to, and it's free. Go to your SDA, Seventh-day Adventist Church, and you can get a free copy. And down in my camper, there's a bunch of them, The Great Controversy. But next to that, first and foremost, I'd probably read The Steps to Christ, because at this point, it's the first 3 steps of AA. We need to admit, as collective, that everything is out of our control. Isn't that lovely? We get to all go to the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. Loving that. And then we need to believe. Come to believe, if we haven't already, at some point in our life, through some situation we've been in, that there's a power greater than ourselves that can restore us to sanity. And then make a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of that God, as we understand Him in our heart and our soul, and what goodness, Godness would look like in our own lives. That's why this is very simple. And then once we do that, oh my God, we have this amazing thing where we want to start making amends to people and healing our relationships within our communities, because those are the people that we're genuinely connected to by a genetic code that we can't see but exists, floats around in our bodies, and it's within everything else too. It's the same genetic code. We, like Larry Winget said, are the humans that are the most intelligent of all the species, and we're the ones that have refused to grow, to produce good fruit. You know, when we produce in our lives goodness towards those we love, and all of our intentions, those things within us that cause us to do things, are towards love and growth and health and life and betterment, then that's what production we'll see within our children, the next generation. Anyway, I'll stop rambling in my dark pause and go figure out how to post this recorded video to my YouTube and then share it on my Facebook. I have a lot of people on my Facebook now, and I just happened very randomly and quickly. I know I was being more public about things, and I took off all my clothes, which was a very humiliating thing, but I had to. Because in reality, we're all taking off our clothes now. And where I'm so skinny, everybody's going to start looking really skinny if genuinely our whole economy collapses. And I don't think it's a time to finger point and call people names, conspiracy theorists. I think it's a time when we pause in the way that we have always thought and dealt with life and start questioning it. Start evaluating it and looking at it and considering it, and whether it's going to do good or not. And honestly, that's how I'm healing this relationship with my mother that has never existed. Because I just pause now. There's no reason to react to anything. I've looked like I've lived in a very reactionary way if you go back and look at my videos, but it was all from a genuine, heartfelt place with all of the best intentions for everybody that I cared about, and even people that I didn't even know, like a lot of the young people in Asheville that I was trying to minister to. I just wanted to speak good into them and for them to see goodness within themselves and just go explode with whatever beautiful gifts that they found within themselves. And that's what I was doing, was encouraging them in that way. And I started with my family and with Clyde Jr. He reminded me so much of my brother when he was younger. And my dad, he really looked a lot like my dad. And not having a connection to my family, and then seeing my family and another family Those were all revelations that most people don't get to have, and they drove me to a deeper level of being and finding meaning in life. So as I collapsed here because I could find no meaning in life or money, the world has quickly collapsed with me. And with that, I will pause longer. Peace. Be still. Find peace.